Hey guys, back with another off-season interview. This time I am joined by some people's new favorite distance thrower, Mr. Albert Tamm. How we doing?
Hello, thanks for having me.
Dude, my pleasure, man. I appreciate you taking the time, to speak with us a little bit. It's been honestly like the talk of the town over the past week or so is this U.S. Distance Championship. A bunch of my friends are watching it. We like put it on in between playoff games this past Sunday. It's been a super fun watch. What has it been like for you? I'm sure on the receiving end of a bunch of compliments. I mean, it was a blast to watch you throw in that video.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was like good memories also to like get a new personal best on the 710 throw. So that was really good memories from that event.
Yeah, no question. Let's maybe back it up a little bit though. Where are you right now? Because Albert, I know you as an Estonian. I know most of our European players are back home right now, but you're not. Where are you?
I'm in Arizona. Yeah, Phoenix, Scottsdale in that area. Doing some off-season work to get ready for the season, and this weekend I'll play like a little preliminary event for the season at Maricopa Open.
Oh, nice. Why no? Why haven't you gone back home at all? Do I remember correctly? You have like a 5-year visa to where you're good right now. Where do you stand with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. And I was home for from November to like January, and then
Oh, okay.
from January I flew back, picked up my rig, and drove to Arizona.
Where'd you keep your rig over those couple months?
My rig was in Iowa, and like I bought it from a dealership there, and they had some work that needed to be done, and it was funny because like a lot of like Iowa's disc golfers saw my rig like like close to the highway, and they text me like, "What's up? Are you like in Iowa or what's going on?"
No, just storage right now. But no, it's good to have you back. Honestly, looking forward to watching the coverage from Maricopa. I think that Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, usually gets out and covers it. So hopefully we can
Yeah.
get some footage of that this year. But let's talk about your season, this 2022 season as a whole. Um, was Please correct me if I'm wrong because I very well could be. Was that your first year doing the full U.S. tour, like hitting basically all the events?
Yeah, that was like the first full swing.
Cool. So we're a year. We're through our first full swing. Like, how did you feel like it went overall, net?
Overall, it went fine because there was like a lot of work, like paper wise, that had to be done behind the curtains, and
Mm.
figuring out the stuff with the RV, and getting that kind of like know how to tour with a rig. That was took a little bit energy there, but like at the same time, I know like there's like no other way to do it and really experience it and get the know-how for the next years. And so I'm kind of more prepared for this year. Like I know the stuff, I know where I can stay for some events, and yeah, some of the work has been laid, groundwork has been done. Um, Play wise, there was some ups and downs. I got a win that was really good at Open at Tallahassee at Silver Series, and I had some top fives also on Elite Series scene. So there was like it, it was like it had everything.
Yeah, ups, downs, emotional highs, great times
Yeah.
off the course. I'm sure. You mentioned that you learned a lot being on tour for full time, like with a rig on your own time, right? That's kind of like a whole other journey in itself. Was there anything in particular that you learned, or anything like going into this year, like, whoa, I am not doing that again?
Um, like one thing I learned for sure was the how to like navigate, or like how to say, how to plan out the tour a little bit more. Like usually, well, like whenever we come here from Europe, especially like for 3 month on ESTA, like we just book it all the way with events. But one thing I kind of saw from last year was that I need to like find some loops where I can chill out,
Mm.
and probably one thing I'm also gonna do is I might not take practice that seriously. If I feel I don't want to practice, then I'm not gonna practice.
Yeah, I mean, they say like practice makes perfect, but it's probably more along practice makes permanent, right? So I totally hear you. If your mind is not in the practice mindset, it's probably just, likely a waste of time. You're hammering in bad habits. But what in particular brought that to your mind?
I talked with my mentoring coach, Risto from Estonia, and like there were times where like I went to practice, but maybe I felt I wanted to do something else. So kind of
Mm,
like finding like a fair balance. I don't know if balance is the right word, but like finding what is the thing that I want to do right now more. And of course, sometimes you don't feel like practice, but you gotta go practice anyway. That's fine. But like there are certain times where you feel that the sense to do something else is way stronger. Then you gotta really trust the feel and oh, go with that.
man, and speaking of something that I would imagine we're going to be seeing you doing a lot more this next season is throwing bombs, right? That U.S. distance showcase, was really something special. What is maybe the difference in competing in an event like that? I mean, outside of just obviously like the format, you're throwing like flippy discs as hard as you can, which you probably wouldn't necessarily do in a normal tournament. But like, what is the difference in prepping and performing at a event like that as compared to like maybe trying to play for stroke play out at Winthrop, just like the next day or something?
I think a lot more goes into the warm up. Like
Mm,
whenever I go to like, I remember like warming up. I'm just trying to maybe like I know like let's say for USDC, I know the distance competition is on let's say Friday. Then the week from Monday, I'm kind of starting to like maybe whenever I'm warming up for a casual round, I'm trying to like get those discs high on the field, like try to like max out a couple of shots just for fun and just to get a feel how to throw disc high, because like that's something we don't really do on a course.
yeah.
So and whenever it's a day of the competition, then I'm just trying to make sure that my timing and everything is kind of clicking regarding hitting the disc high and with a proper angle.
Yeah, and gosh, high is like an understatement on some of those shots. Like it was difficult to imagine exactly or to see exactly how high the scale was. Off the ground with the camera zoomed in, but in person, it's just like it's staggering, just like the scale of those throws. Um, what was you were standing there next to David Wiggins, historically long thrower, double G, historically long thrower, Anthony Barella, obviously crusher. Like, did you during that competition feel like, wow, we got some huge throwers, or were you a little bit more like, look what I can do? Let's like, I can't wait to get up there.
Um, I've been more like whenever I go to distance showcase, I'm more about the show,
Yep.
just doing some fun stuff. But like I was like the defending champ of that event, and
Mm-hmm.
I was the last one to throw. And this year was a little bit more special because there was like qualifying round and the final round, so you have to make it to top six throws to get to the final.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the last thrower, and I saw the numbers that I had to beat to kind of like get to the finals was like pretty much 660, and I was like, damn, this is like I think the 660 was like my previous person best. So it was kind of like okay, but at the same time, like you just gotta pipe one out there and kind of hope for the best. So just try it hard, and if you win, you win. If you don't, you don't.
No, very true. One thing I did notice, like, you know, outside of obviously you're a born showman, you get people clapping, you're like made for that moment. But like, Wiggins 360, Barella 360, Thomas Gilbert 360s. You just took a pretty much straightforward, like probably a little bit longer, a little bit slower and more deliberate than your normal golf shot, but that was just a golf shot. Was there any mindset? Was there any thought to going 360? Did you prep a 360? Where did that like straightforward shot come from?
I've never really practiced 360. Like there's a quite a big reason for it. It's like I don't really see any other input for it than distance showcase. And I mean, like if I throw far, that's fine. And like I said, it's more about the show for me there. So I don't really yeah, I haven't put any time into practicing it. But like I've played around with the idea, and like whenever I get a little more times during some off season, I might really play around with it. But we'll see.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, hey, why even play around with it if you're dropping 710 just straightforward? Talk to me about that shot. Did you, when it was in the air, did you know it was mushed? When did you realize, holy moly, that's like a legendary shot, dude. 710 flat ground, regular wind.
Um, it's one thing that I haven't really figured out before. Like, let's say, let's bring in discus pro from athletics. Quite a lot of times when you hear the interviews, like let's say somebody is a favorite and doesn't really perform, they say like they didn't get the timing on the technique, and that I don't really knew what it means for this golf. Like
Hmm.
especially like if you're on the disc golf course, throwing golf shots, you don't like. There's not such a thing. I didn't uh, get my technique to time properly. But whenever you start throwing those distance shots, then you feel what it means. Like my timing didn't work out, and I think that's something that the distance throwing has teach me the most. And that 710 shot, that was like I could like whenever I released it, I feel like everything clicked. Like the way I hit the disc angle, also that's also has to do something with the timing. It kind of panned out perfectly. It wasn't like too
Hmm.
quick of a flip or too slow of a flip. So everything just was spot on.
No, I love it. It was just, I mean, it was a beautiful shot, and gosh, it was with a Ballista Pro, which, like, when I throw it, maybe it's not the most overstable disc, but it ain't turning like that. So I want to talk a little bit about the disc choice when you go into these big long throws. You know, every player out there, for the most part, is like sponsored by a different company. I'm just thinking about it right now. It's like a lot of different discs, a lot of different molds being thrown between all six competitors in the final round, and even more with the regular field. What went into the discs that you chose, and would you do anything different if you had like open bag to any manufacturer's discs?
Um, well, I knew that Ballista Pro is like it's my go-to driver. I have a little bit different plastic though, which is more stable.
Mm-hmm.
But I have played around with this quite a bit, so I kind of like know by changing plastics I can get more understable versions. But still, they have like that required stability for me to get like the most distance and a little bit of control out of it, so I can know it will fade out eventually. Um, so yeah, I chose the triple burst Ballista, Gold Line triple burst Ballista Pros. They were all like 173, I think,
Mm.
and I had, I was pretty fortunate that I was able to pick up like five same discs pretty much. So I think that's pretty much a key whenever you're throwing those distance stuff is to have discs that are really similar because like first two shots you're trying to figure out what are the stuff like what's happening on the field. Is there wind that you're not feeling, or I don't know. You have way more easier time fixing
Mm-hmm.
your slight angles if you have the same disc to fix with it. um but yeah, I think maybe one thing that I would change, or at least I would like to try out, is to try like 170 gram
Mm.
triple burst Ballista Pro, because I was on a Nick and Matt show yesterday, and then I'm not that much of expert on this disc choice because I haven't done distance that much, but like David talked a little more into it, and he said like he threw like 170 gram, I think, discs,
Mm-hmm.
and he said like his ideal is like they're 165, 60, maybe there. So I would like to try out what it would it feel like, and what it will actually be practical wise to have like 170 gram Ballista Pro out there on the field
Mm.
with like a nice wind. How much like I would gain more distance wise.
No, no question. I mean, a little bit lighter disc, tailwind. It makes sense. You mentioned that you love that specifically. You want five of the exact same discs to try and figure out just make an adjustment live.
Mm-hmm.
That is comparable, but is a difference between Wiggins. In that last round, he threw one super overstable one to start just to get a
Mm-hmm.
number, and then switched into the more understable, or like, for him, understable bosses. Is that like an experience play, or is that just how his game differs from yours? Or would you ever consider like doing that?
I mean, that's a good tactic. I think we had a little bit. different wind for the final round too.
Hmm.
Um, so like I think my first free shot for the final round, I was kind of like turning over too much or they hyzered out too much. So I can't really remember, but like I remember for four shot, I had thrown like I don't know 400 tops for the final round. So I was like, okay, I see the numbers. I need to get one out there, but that was like my fourth shot. So and then I have one last shot to like really bomb one out there. So I think the pressure buildup is too much. So I think that's a
Hmm.
good tactic to like um, get like a solid number out there first, and then I don't know, just take your chances with the four. Like you can have those four repetitive throws instead of like I have like 1, 2, 3. I have to change the tactic, and then again I have a like go all out. I don't know. I feel like that's maybe not the most consistent tactic, but it can help in certain occasions. I think.
No, no question. And it's kind of fun watching the thought process on this kind of grow because nobody's really done a competition or even like a competition series like this, like thought about tactically the best way of like going about scoring in a competition like this. And speaking of that kind of unique format, you had the longest throw. You know, if this was Big D in the desert, if this was the world distance, at the distance competition at the World Championships, you would be the champion. So, how do you feel like that format? How do you feel like the format plays? Maybe self biasy aside.
I think it's a good format. I like even though I know I didn't win, I threw the longest. It sucked, but at the same time, I think it's a good format because one thing is like all the distance throwing sports. Let's say discus, shot
Mm-hmm.
putting, that stuff. Like there's whenever you see them in Olympics and stuff, you see there's qualification rounds. Whatever you do there, it doesn't matter. The main goal is to qualify, and that's when the finals come into. But that's where you like even in the finals, I think you have to like maybe first three you get 5 tries total maybe, but to in order to get to 5 tries, the first three have to be like top six. Then you get like two
Mm.
extra tries. So I think that's a good format, and I think it brings out the most consistent distance thrower. And
Mm-hmm.
like when you see the numbers, I think Wiggins threw both of his rounds like 690, 680. So I think that's like I can't really how to say complain about it. I think it's a
Yeah.
fair format, and um, yeah, I would like to see this more in the future also.
Well, and it's funny because you hear distance showcase and you don't really think accuracy or placement or anything like that, but or consistency. But that's true. It's like in a distance competition, there are out of bounds lines along the side. There is a degree of control that you have to have. Um, how did you feel like the width of the fairway and like the trees on the side? Was it like and even the wind, like because normally you can pick which direction you throw into. This one you kind of you're locked into a direction whether the wind is blowing this way or that way. Um, did that all check out for you? Did it seem like it was actually like a good showcase for the distance?
Uh, yeah, I like that we have like a certain area where we have to land the disc in. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just like spray and pray. So I think it's good. Um, I don't know. The woods on the sides, it's kind of, I think it's a good visual marker that like I remember like I was using the woods on the left side to kind of like get my aiming point or reference
Mm-hmm.
point where I need to throw. And um but yeah, there was like definitely a couple of shots that were about to like fade out from the right side if it had a little more time in the air, but then it caught
Mm-hmm.
the trees. But again, that's my problem to figure out how to avoid those trees.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it kind of reminds me of like disc golf or a major league baseball ballpark. Like every one is going to be a little different. So if you win a championship here, oh, there was trees on the side. This other one, maybe it's like Vegas is a ever so slight downhill down that driving range. So like I almost kind of like if you're going to take this as like a traveling road show, if you're going to do more of these distance, almost having slight variations in the surface or in the playing field. It could be cool, it could be just like a little extra element that the players are needing to navigate.
Yeah, like in Vegas also, like not that much, but there's like because there's a slight elevation, the discs are a little more stable. So that's also one cool thing.
Yep.
Um yeah, the elevation is a fun thing.
Yeah, it's sneaky elevation too, because it's like
Yeah.
1,800 feet, 2,000. Not really enough, but just enough to like bring your ever so slightly too flippy disc back to like money. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, you're a born showman, Albert, and I'm just gonna say it. Could you compare the $1 million shot out of MVP to this United States Distance Championship? Like, I mean, it's a slightly different format, obviously, slightly different stakes, but like, it seems like you shined through in both. Like, you were standing on those tee pads, like owning it. I, how did you feel? Like, do you feel like you love the like? Compare those two and your experience in both of those. How about that?
Um like MVP was more about precision a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um it was one thing that was hard at MVP was because the trees were kind of like in front of the basket and we were a little bit too far away, so we didn't like there wasn't we didn't get any feedback how we were throwing. Like I checked the footage and like I think the first shot went long by like 40 feet, and that I thought it was like short.
Mm.
And then I was like, okay, I need to add more and then more. But actually, I was supposed to just like, um, let's say, throw a hyzer instead of some flex shot. So that was a little bit tricky there. And but the showcase was more, I think, how to get the most, like the most speed and the most beautiful flight out of the disc. Like no like precision in a bit to keep it in the fairway, but just to like show the beauty of the flight a little bit.
No, no question. And we saw plenty of plenty of beautiful flight because, well, I mean, partially because Scoyote, the FPV
Yeah.
drone, that was like, I mean, borderline scary close to the disc. What was it like going full power? Were you able to go full power knowing that a drone was about to like, not take your head off, but feel like it?
Oh, I didn't even notice it. It was but it's I checked the follow flights it did. It's I don't know the precision and the aim to like how to say to keep the drone like
Mm-hmm.
on a proper angle with the disc. One thing that no, it doesn't. I think it doesn't work like this. But whenever the propellers are working, they like put a little bit air. So one thing that will be cool to test out, but I don't know if it's doable, is to like if you could like place the drone under the frisbee during the flight and like change the propellers, to work different ways so they blow the air up. I wonder if that will like what that will do with the thing.
No, that was a thought that I had, but I mean, not quite that far. It was the opposite. Like, is the drone being so close to the disc, like pushing it down or changing the wind near the disc? Is that a thought that you guys had at all, or no?
No, I think no. I think there's a fair amount of distance between the disc and the
Yeah,
drone, and yeah, and he has done it for quite a while, so I think he's got it.
yeah, he's got chops. I know he's actually been coming out to a lot of events throughout the years. I remember specifically he has two pairs of goggles. He had me put on the goggles one time. Dude, not okay. I was like nauseous after 2 seconds. He's just sitting there like it's zen. It's going anyway. I could talk about Scoyote all day. It's so fun, dude. It's so cool. Could you talk about your like how did you get involved with Ted Double G? Even Wiggins to a degree because it seems like you're kind of part of this little like you're kind of in that distance crew now or this distance showcase crew. Is that fair to say? Like, are you kind of a part of this like traveling roadshow? Do you feel like you're in the inner circle of like distance people that they're going to invite out to other showcases?
I don't really know how to answer it. I met Ted, I think, first time at USDC this year, and
Mm-hmm.
also Wiggins. So, I've done my distance showcases whenever there's a possibility, but I haven't really uh what do you say the traveling showcase stuff.
Sure.
I'm I'm more focused on the pro tour and playing the tournament. So like whenever I get an invitation, I definitely will consider it, but it will come down how it will interfere with the tournaments and how much time I have, yeah, between the two events, if I have time to recover and stuff. Because like one thing I've noticed this year is more towards later the season we went, it was a little bit harder to recover from the distance stuff. Like I definitely felt sore after the event. Like after MVP, after USCC, I definitely felt like, oh crap, I feel like I've thrown a
Yeah.
frisbee the other day. So that's like one thing I need to like be more aware of, and I don't know, maybe sometime I need to skip distance showcase because of it, because I feel like okay, my body's been through a lot, and like this will be like cherry on top right now, and maybe I don't really need it.
Yeah, so I talked with Wiggins, and he kind of honestly was on the other side of that things. Like not that shocking, right? He's kind of been out of the game for a little bit, so his mind is a little bit more towards the distance and the showcase and the clinic element. It sounds to me like obviously your priority number one is getting trophies and scoring as well as you can on tour. So what does your 2023 like look like? Are you planning on hitting literally every single stop on the entire tour? Where do you stand on that?
I'm playing most of the tour in US again. This year I will be more in Europe though, because there's European Championships happening during the same weekend as Stieg Low, which is a
Hmm.
bummer because yeah, I was kind of bummed out that the schedule was not really favorable for Europeans this year. So yeah, but you have to make decisions, and this year I will be more in Europe, playing like a little bit tournaments back home, and then European Championships, and then I will head back for the Worlds.
Hmm. No, it's great. Honestly, I with the addition of all of the Euro Tour events being on Disc Golf Network, I'm like super excited just to even be like partially more connected to the European scene. I think that that's something that like as time goes on, we're going to end up with like two legitimate professional fields. So I'm super excited to see like even just more coverage of our European friends like before they make their journey to the States. Did that play a factor at all in any European tournaments that you may play?
Like I just checked the schedule. Like, well, I played the PAS Open in
Mm-hmm.
Norway and the European Open, and after this there was like a little bit of gap. So I thought maybe I'll fly out to Lechstone and then fly back to Estonia
Oof.
to play the European Championships. But at the same time, like as I said, like you have to be aware what toll it has on the body, and like to have like I don't know, week and a half between two 9 hour flights, it's not really good. So I thought, okay, I'll see what tournaments I have back home, and like there's Estonian Championships, and then which is not a Euro tour, but it's like big event for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one Euro tour before the European Championship, so it kind of like played itself out. But yeah, probably if there wasn't anything like Euro tour wise in Estonia, then I might like have looked around more in Europe also, like to find what is the best level tournament I can find in that time gap that I need to find.
Man, I mean, even just like the thought of taking a week off, like would like it's so funny. I talk to a lot of the disc golfers, and no one's ever like, yeah, I'm gonna take a couple weeks off. Like every weekend there's an event. It's funny. Like it's about playing the events every single weekend. Are you planning on taking any weeks off, just recovering the body and
Yeah, I have
everything?
a lot of breaks on the tour. Yeah, like even though there's like let's say there's PCS Open, then there's European Open, and
Mm-hmm.
then I have a free week, and then it's the
Ah.
free tournaments. I talked like the
Uh-huh.
Estonian Championships. Aldog was open at the which is the Euro Tour in Estonia, and then European Championships, and then there's another free week to fly to US for the World. So there's like everything kind of works out perfectly.
No, it's great. Honestly, I'm stoked to get the season started. Are you gonna be? I would imagine you're gonna be in Vegas in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, dude. So I'm stoked to see you there. That's pretty much all I have for this interview, though. I wanted to give you a chance to say anything that you want, anything that maybe we didn't touch on that you'd like to bring up, anything to plug, any fans that you'd like to, talk to out there.
Um, yeah, I think if you're interested in my journey in disc golf, you can stay tuned with it through my Instagram or Facebook. Just type in Albert Tamm and I should pop up there. And yeah, go out and play disc golf.
I love it. Might take some words from you now. We've got our bag tag championship or bag tag challenge, I should say, coming up this weekend. So I need to get some practice putting myself. But like I said, that's about all I have for this interview. If you'd like to follow along with Albert, make sure to check out the Instagram handle I have below his face right now in this video. Other than that, that's about all I have for this interview. If you would like coverage of all things disc golf, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel.